Day, good morning. Committee of the Whole is back in order. When we left off, we were on revenue and taxation. There was a request to invite the director. So I want to thank the director and the deputy director for joining us this morning. Let's proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Camacho. Thank you for coming today. And
Good morning.
Thank you both for coming. I see that we have a handout as of September 30, 2017. Can you please just explain the handout of this, the items? Just use one row as a description.
Yes, this handout basically is what we referred back when we had our budget hearing back in July. Yeah, we were trying to explain which handout?
This right here.
Oh, the DOA. Oh,
your staffing pattern.
Okay.
So just to clarify, this is the recruitment status report for number certification packets prepared October 1st, 2016 and up to September 30th, 2017.
Yes, I didn't really get a chance to look at this, but there are some positions that I guess are looking at the report that are no selections have been made in I think 1, 2, 3, or 4 positions that I see here. This is based on DOA, but I have another handout also that we issued out to everybody. Basically,
we're specifically talking about your staffing pattern.
Yes.
So, and that was in question. And the reason why I was questioning it is because in fiscal year 17, you had approximately 30 vacant positions. And that was of your current staffing pattern, which I looked back and it shows that you were appropriated for those positions. So I want to go back into your staffing pattern and your recruitment status report because it's significant to see when these people were hired or why these positions are still vacant coming the end of fiscal year 17. So can we discuss the recruitment status report, please?
I guess looking at DOA, there's 4, I guess, that I'm looking at. Just a few minutes, just compared to what we have on a reconciliation for our report that I have also here, which I hand out to everybody.
Okay.
What I was trying to explain earlier is that in our budget hearing in July, we were trying to explain that when we submitted our budget, at that point of time, there was a lot of vacant positions in January. And since then, there's actually, if you look at this report that I gave, there's 23 vacant positions when we submitted our budget. And since then, we have filled basically 20, I believe, and there's 3 pending right now, according to our records at DRT. And if you look at the report, the pending ones are just basically the first one, which is the computer operator 3, 1 revenue agent, which is the pending announcement, and 1 that we just completed our interview and pending selection. So at that point, we were trying to explain in the budget that yes, we had a lot of vacancies, but since then, if you look at the date field, we have filled those vacancy positions.
And you fill these vacancy positions with fiscal year 17 appropriation and allocation?
I believe so,
yes. Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm looking at what the amount of DRT requested, and I'm thinking that you requested $13,592,876, which you accounted for of these 23 vacant positions in the listing. Is that correct? you requested $13,592,876. Right, so just, actually, it says that you have 10 revenue officers,
Yes.
5 revenue agents, 4 tax investigator 1, 4 compliance officer 1, and 2 compliance inspector 2,
Yes.
25. So that's 25 personnel additional.
Yes.
And there was, early on into the budget, we discussed that each person that we hire is guaranteed to bring in $300,000 additional for tax withholding and BPT.
I just want to, that was something that we had for some time, a base mark for every revenue agent that basically comes. But what we actually did when I went back to our office is basically we look at the last 5 to 7 years of production report, because in revenue agents, basically some years are good years, some years are bad years. For example, in FY15, we had a deficiency of $21 million. And in 16, depending on when the money or the cases are closed, we have about $9 million in FY16. So what we did basically was went back as far as I think 5 to 7 years and look at the deficiencies. Deficiency, by the way, is our tax that we generate from these audits from the revenue agents. So when we look at that, and based on the number of average revenue agent throughout those fiscal year, we were looking at more for like $700,000 for the revenue agents per year average when we go back as far as 7 years. On the revenue officer side, again, you know, last year we collected, I believe, $41 to $44 million on receivables, but the other year we collected only about $20-some million.
Right, but you claim that due to some kind of influx of early on in the budget, that it wasn't specifically because of the revenue agents. There was something that came back in surplus to you that you were able to lower your receivables.
Yes, this I'm talking right now about you're right, the revenue officers. So when we look at the receivables, basically, you know, if you go back, basically if you look at $44 million that we collected, you're looking at basically cash-wise, you're looking at $600,000 to $700,000 on the average.
So this is my concern, is the budget is specifically set for you without no public law in place to hire 25 additional people under the recruitment of revenue agents to increase revenue collections and compliance and audits tax filings. You also have 6 LTA in your staffing pattern. And there's no guarantee really that that additional personnel is going to bring out that amount of money, because, and even there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to hire that personnel. And we all understand that DRT has a high attrition rate. So would it be fair to say that perhaps we would allocate you half of what you are requesting? By the way, this is more than what you requested for your FY18 revenue. And the reason why I'm asking that is because the Guam Police Department, there's a public law, 33-163, that gives them the authority to hire personnel and to fill 40 vacancies every year. And so I'm just thinking that, would it be fair to give half of the general fund allocation to rev and tax, and then put in the back a provision that whatever BPT and tax withholding is extra, you can use the remainder to fill in the other half?
Okay.
Go ahead, Maria.
Can I just respond to that? You know, you're right. There is no guarantees as far as how much every agent will collect. However, these positions are all critical to the department, because not only is it collection, it's also enforcement. We have regulatory, and we also have compliance. So even when you discuss about, tax investigators, the collection is not guaranteed. However, we send a message, and that message is fairness to all, and everybody pay their fair share. We need these positions. And compromising right now with GPD, revenue tax is the heart of the government, correct?
I wouldn't know that.
It is. Okay.
I think that's
the
opinion.
revenues come in through revenue tax. Without the revenues, you don't have a budget. So I say, let's just create more revenues and perhaps use that extra money that wasn't included in this budget to hire the additional. But these positions are critical. We're already short-staffed. Everybody is looking forward to these 36 positions that we're going to hire. We already had a meeting with all the supervisors, administrators, that this is what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
And CI,
I'm just looking at also the rate of the vacancies that they put out. You put in, since some regulatory examiner, October 2016, the selection still has not been made. November 18, 2016, it doesn't seem like that position has been filled. So I'm just trying to meet halfway. I'm not trying to, please don't mistake it that I don't think that revenue tax is any less important than any other agency.
We're both important, correct.
Yes.
We're
So
both
I'm not
important.
trying to
GPD
argue
is safety. I agree.
Yeah.
They're important. But what I'm trying to say today is that revenue tax has been short for many, many years. 20 years ago, we had a staff of 260. Now, with more laws, more requirements, more services that we administer, we have less employees. So we've been suffering for the past 30 years, 20 years with the staff that we have now. And on top of that, every new law that this body administers or passes is the same people, again, that has to enforce those new laws. So we're really shorthanded right now.
Right,
This
but I'm
will
saying
bring
that
us up
I understand that you're shorthanded.
Yes.
I totally understand that.
Yes.
I'm just saying that the rate of the hiring in the appropriation that you're getting, there's no guarantee to fill that gap. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that everyone is short in the government, but I'm not.
Yes.
And then what they put in here, usually for additional classified position, you need a public law. Here, we're putting this in a budget. Maybe perhaps the budget hearing is something of a public hearing. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem that this was right-sized, and we're using the people's money to right-size an area that didn't have its due process.
I'm sorry, Senator, I understand your situation. However, this should have been brought up during the budget, the revenue side.
This is the budget, and this is the budget
we're
side.
done with the revenue, correct? We can't even adjust it. Why don't we go back and adjust it 2.5 or whatever that money is that you need? But, to short somebody else, especially revenue tax, that is in dire need of this staff, I believe that's not going in the, I hate to say this, but in the right direction. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to give more service, more, regulate more. We have the marijuana law coming in. We don't even have the staff for that. It's just, we're short right now. This position, I really appreciate the legislature coming to us, Senator, our committee, Senator Joe, for bringing this up, because this is a long time coming. A long time.
Right, but it took you a year just to hire 23 personnel. It's going to take you another year to hire additional 25, plus the recruitment of vehicle registration officers, which is another 11 positions.
It's justifiable.
You're just not moving
Senator.
fast enough. So would you think that we could appropriate this money in the back end for what you collect? It's only fair. I think it's a reasonable request, because it depends on how much you collect. So don't you think that it would be a little bit more of motive?
Agree. That doesn't even make sense right now.
Senator, I know.
I think that policy decision will have to be made by us, but I think Senator Torres just wanted to.
Okay.
Did you have a point?
Please don't be upset. I'm not trying. We're just trying to right size. That's all. I'm not trying to attack you or the
Right
agency.
sizing would be
Thanks,
allowing these positions to
everybody.
go through.
Okay.
Senator Torres,
Mr. Speaker, I was going to ask Senator Nelson if she had a specific amendment or request, because in listening to the dialogue and in understanding the mandates of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, there is nothing that I would want more than to give them the additional support that they need to accomplish their mission, which is to help regulate, enforce, and beef up the revenue stream to the government. I know that we tend to get discouraged about whether we can have an immediate return on an investment. But I think that in this sort of scenario, if you understand the enforcement and the collection of taxes, it isn't automatic, because the process itself, as Mrs. Benito will confirm, and Mr. Camacho, the process also has a mechanism where there's an administrative process, and there's also a course that you can go through to the court. So it's not an automatic, hand me the bill, give me a check, you know, and so we have to appreciate that you have to start someplace, and whether the return on the investment of additional personnel happens this fiscal year would be ideal, but at best, we can anticipate that the windfall of that investment can be realized at the most in the upcoming fiscal year, given the nature of making assessments and going through the process if someone were to dispute the assessments and the penalties that are being alleged. So I can understand your frustration up there, because it is always a chore to have to justify an investment into your department. But I think that if we can appreciate the system by which the taxpayers are also afforded the opportunity to challenge anything that they see as an unfair assessment against them, that time doesn't always work in our favor as a government when it comes to collections. But from one thing that I want to just emphasize, a point that you made, Ms. Benito, is it's true. The half of the battle is getting people to understand that enforcement is going to come down. Yes. And so it is an incentive for people to pay their taxes when they know that there's a collector and an auditor that's chasing them down. And so that part I can appreciate. I'm in support of giving revenue and tax additional monies for personnel, because I think that we've seen over the years a decline in that enforcement and investigative arm of DRT, which really is a necessary part for people to be more law-abiding. And
$550,000 for Rev and Tax, $550 for GPD. So